This is Captain Matt on the Gundalow Piscataqua, and I am planning to step the mast behind me today. It's a great technology lesson here involving some simple machines, and I will do my best down here by myself to walk you through it. So we have two long spars on this Gundalow, or I should say one long one and one short one. Right here in the center with the big counterweight at the bottom. This is called our stump mast, and it's just about 24 feet long. Beyond it you can see the 62-foot long yard. So the stump mast is actually stepped by a tabernacle, which is what we call the stainless steel structure here. So the portion at the bolts right here, it will pivot on that pin and stay right there, while the counterweight and the heel of the mast will go down through the deck and step down near the keel or keelson if we had a keel. In fact, it sits on a pretty beefed up mast step down there. So the very first thing to do here is check over the masthead. I tested the lights, I tested the horn, the VHF radio. Much better to not have to change a light bulb once it's up in the air. So I've just put a last coat of oil on the mast there. Again, something that I prefer to do down here on deck and not on a ladder. And we are ready to try and step it. The mast is made of solid white oak, 14 inches across, and it's sizable. It weighs something over half a ton. You can see I've attached a wire rope here to the masthead, but it's much too low of an angle to be able to just pull from down here. So I'll be rigging up what's called a gin pole. It's this third spar you see that we bring out on deck just for this occasion. And I'll be using some mechanical advantage here in that block and tackle, and also the electric windlass over here. Okay, the gin pole is ready to be stood up, and here's where I sometimes wish I had a gin pole to raise the gin pole, but I'll give it a good push, stand it up until it's perpendicular to the mast, and then reconnect that wire rope or gin pole stay back to the masthead. Okay, so now that gin pole stay has been stood up, you can see there's a block and tackle leading forward to the stem. From the top of the gin pole, there's that stay coming back to the masthead, and then I have two smaller lines running to port and starboard that I'll call guys, and they just keep that pole centered as the mast raises. Alright, so I'm down in the forepeak now. Came down this ladder on the side here, and making sure that the mast step is ready, that there's nothing blocking the way. Here's the heel of the mast up above us. I'll get a little more oil on the very bottom of that before it comes on down, and that's going to swing on down. You can see it's very well reinforced with stainless steel on both sides here, and then that's tied into the structure of the ship up here into that bulkhead you see further aft. So there's a little wooden wedge shape here that makes a little bit of an uphill slope, so the mast can swing right down onto that and then rest up on top of it. And if needed, I have this turnbuckle here to give it a last push. You'll see how that connects later on. And then there are holes drilled right through so that a large stainless steel pin can come right across and really lock it into place down here. So right at the end there, the balance changes in part because of that counterweight at the bottom, and so you can see the block and tackle didn't actually end up doing the work at the very end. The mast just gently swung into place. So there it is. I'll climb down and connect that turnbuckle to push back or push aft a little there, and make sure the hole lines up to push the pin through it. So that's how we step the stump mast, and the next step of course will be to start rigging up the yard and bend on the sail. To be clear, we don't know of any Gundalows that stepped their masts this way. Many Gundalows of course had this lateen rig where they could lower the yard for bridges, so in our case that reduces our air draft, or our height off the water, from about 65 feet down to 24 feet. We do know of plenty of canal barges and other types of boats that encountered bridges that had taller masts rigged on tabernacles where they could drop the whole mast to clear bridges. So we've rigged ours up this way, so we have a couple of different options. To get under some lower bridges like the one you see in the background, we can disconnect that yard, lower the stump mast, and sneak on under it with a height of only about 8 feet off the water. So that's handy for the Bellamy River, for the Swampscott River, the Salmon Falls River, a number of places with low bridges. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed that little demonstration, and hope to see you sailing with us on the Gundalow before too long here.